Howdy folks, in this video I'm going to continue the demo series with demo number 3 on adding mostly static view pages to your Rails web app. So in this demonstration I'm going to show you how to create mostly static web pages, and by that I mean they just are mostly just static and that they don't have much behavior, maybe just a little. I'm going to do that in Rails, and I'm going to continue to work on the WAP project, which I started in the previous demo number 2. So first things first, we need to fire up our development environment, and the first main thing there is to start the VM and log into it. So I'm going to fire up the terminal, and then I'm going to cd into the workspace folder, and then I'm going to boot up our VM by saying vagrant up. Okay, and now I'm going to log in using Vagrant SSH. All right, and I'm in the VM, and you can tell because here's the prompt that I had before when I was on the host OS, and now it's changed to Vagrant on the VM. All right, so I'm logged in. So the first thing I want to do here is, last time I created a repo, put it on GitHub, and I was using secure HTTP for authentication, which basically meant I had to log in, like enter my username and password every time. This is annoying. I have since set up SSH keys to help with this. You can, if you want to see how to do this for yourself, just Google GitHub SSH setup, and then there's a help page on it, and you have to pick your OS. So we're on Linux, so that's the one you'd want to look at. And this kind of gives you a quick idea about how to add SSH keys and register them with GitHub so that they'll work for just to automatically do key-based authentication. So no more entering usernames and passwords every time. One thing to watch out for: this Xclip I'm assuming won't work with our VM because we're not running a GUI, which I think is what it's supposed to be doing. Not positive, but I think it's assuming kind of a GUI environment. So you basically would instead follow these alternative instructions here. But once you set that up, you'll have keys generated in your on your client, which is your VM, that will automatically authenticate you with GitHub. So let me hop over to GitHub to this repository. So here's the WAP repo. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to cd into the workspace folder. And you can see that there's WAP right there that I made last time. I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. I already have it backed up anyway. So boom, it's gone. And so now I'm going to go here, I'm going to reclone it. Only this time I'm going to use SSH. So I switched it right there. Changes the way the address looks. Then I'm going to say git clone. Say that. And it's oh, no, it just worked. So you can see, there it goes. So no more entering username and password. Oh, actually, though, it didn't authenticate me because this is a public project. So I actually have to wait until I push something at the end of this demo to see this work. But at any rate, I'm now working in I'm now have a fresh copy of WAP. So I'm going to cd into WAP, and let's see what the next step is. Okay, so I'm going to the main thing I'm going to do here is add a new web page to the app, and that's kind of going to be the way I illustrate how you do view coding in Rails. And so the first thing I want to do is add a simple page about me, which is going to involve setting up a route to the page, a controller action that basically serves up the page, and a view that shows how the page is supposed to render, or what the page is supposed to show. So those are kind of 3 main steps. So let me do those. I'm going to do like I did last time, where I'm going to open another tab in my terminal. This is back on my host OS now, and I'm going to use my my local code editor, my host code editor, VS Code, to work here. So to add a new page, first step is I need to add a new route. And so that's in config, routes. And basically you're just doing this about like last time. I'm going to give this one my university user ID. And I'm going to add a controller action in a minute for that corresponds to that ID. And we can make an as thing for it too. Okay. All right, so there's the route I've added. So that's the route. Next, we'll add the controller action for it. And again, this controller action is just empty. I'll add the comment here about what it's really going to do, which is just, it's going to render that page. But it does that automatically. That's just a comment. It's not actual executing code. Okay, and so that means we need to have this thing created. So if I go into Views, under Pages, and remember this Pages folder corresponds with the Pages controller. I mentioned that Rails uses naming conventions very heavily, and they are case sensitive and just need to be done exactly right. So we'll watch out for that. So when, like for example, when I generated this Pages controller, I called it Pages. It automatically made a class called Pages Controller. The file name is Pages_controller, all lowercase. That's the naming convention it follows. It automatically just figures all this out, looks at camel case, looks at underscore separation. Automatically makes Pages folder in the views, and that's where we put the views that are going to be loaded directly from this. So I can right-click on Pages. He said I can right-click on Pages. And I can make a new file. And the new file is the one I said I was going to make. My username. And all right, so here's a page that just talks about me. I'm going to hook this in to the About pages later, but for now, oops, caught me on a bug there. I'm just going to give it a heading, which is my name, and then a little blob of text here. Okay, and so now I got the route, which gets us a URL, takes us to the controller action, which will cause the view to render, and a view that can be rendered. So I have everything I need. And so I'm going to, of course, we have to test it. I'm going to go back to the virtual machine now. I'm back in the VM. And to test it, we'll do it using the Rails development server, binding to the 0000 IP. And while that's firing up, I'm gonna up that. Okay, here comes the server. And so now I can open localhost 3000. Okay, and this shows the page I made last time, which is what we'd expect. I've added, though, since then, a route for that URL, and so indeed, there it is. It renders the page for that route. Okay, so I've now added the page with the routes and the controller actions and the view. And so the next thing I want to do is I want to add an image to the page, which is a little bit more complicated thing. And so I'm just going to stick it after the text here. And in order to do that, I'm going to use a Rails view helper. And so the Rails guides are kind of like the official guides to Rails, and it's always a good place to look. And so I'm going to look up, just search on the page for the word images, and you can see it very quickly. There's an example of the image tag, and actually it's down here is down here is where they really document it. So anyway, so this is just a simple little tag for displaying an image in your page, and so it just looks like this. It's the image tag command with the name of the image file, and the image file needs to be stored in app assets images directory. And so we're going to do that. I need to first get myself an image. So I'm going to go over to my host OS and just quickly copy an image for me to use and put it in the workspace folder. And so I'll use that one. So copy it. And now I'm back in the VM, and I'm going to, it's now in my workspace folder, as I said. And so right there it is. And so now I'm going to move that into app assets images, because that's where Rails is going to look for the images. Okay, so the image is there, and now it is just a matter of adding it as per this code right here. So I'll copy that and then paste it. And of course, we're embedding this in a view page, so I have to add some putting embedded Ruby code inside a otherwise HTML page. So we have to put the special tag around it. I want to mention quickly that there are a couple types of tags for embedding code. Actually, there's a few of them, but these are the two most common ones, it seems like. So the %% ones versus one that has an equal sign at the beginning. So equal sign basically just is saying print whatever this Ruby code returns. This one doesn't print what gets returned. And by print, I mean stick it right in this spot, like insert it here. So sometimes you, a lot of these tag helpers are returning HTML code that you want to get inserted here, and that's what this one's doing, and so that's why you use the equal. Other times you just want Ruby code to run but not really print anything into the web page. More like doing, calculating variables or something. And then those cases you wouldn't want the equal. All right, and let's get the correct file name in there. So that's the correct file name. All right, so I've saved that. So I've got the tag. I've saved the image in assets, app assets images. So let's go ahead and see if it works. Okay, yep, and so here's my page, and look at that, there's a big giant picture of me. So indeed it works. Okay. So we've added the image. Now let's, let me add one more thing too. I'll add an hyperlink to an external URL. So I'll just do my professional homepage here. And so grab that. And we can use link to again to do that. So maybe I'll do like this. I'll do another another paragraph, and I'll say here's my homepage, and then I'm going to put just going to insert right here that hyperlink. So I'll use the link to command, which is also a view helper. And the first thing I need is the text for the link, and the second thing I need is the URL. So I'm going to paste the URL here. And I guess the text can just be the URL, I guess. Might as well make it that. And so there it is. So let me go ahead and save that. Let's see if it worked. Well, the server is still running. Since all we did was modify a view page, we should be able to just reload the page in question, and it'll automatically update. Pretty much, it's not always super clear to me. Yep, there we go. There's the URL. If I click it, I get to this page as it's supposed to do. So that's a way to add a hyperlink to an external URL. And what was I saying? Oh yeah, about the restarting the web server. If you modify anything else, it seems like you need to restart the web server for the changes to get reflected. But in the case of modifying view files, they just automatically get reloaded. So something to keep in mind. Okay, so boop, boop, boop. So the last thing I want to add here are some hyperlinks to enable navigating among the existing pages. So these are kind of like, I just did a hyperlink to an external page. Now let me go ahead and do a hyperlink to something more internal. And so I'm going to link between this page and let me put a link on the About page first of all. So I'm going to put an unordered list with one element for now. And my element is going to be a link to for me, so my name there, and then I'm going to the URL for that. Remember from the routes, here's my route to my page, and so we put in this as part, and so that means I can use that with the underscore path method. So I can say that underscore path, and so that's a generated method right there, which returns the path to that page. And so these sort of helper functions are useful in case like you ever rearrange things, they'll automatically update and stuff. So they're good, very good to use. Also, pathing can be a real mess in general. Okay, so so I added a link there from the About page so you can get to my page. And then on this one at the bottom, oh, what do you think? We should go back home maybe? I'll just add a link to take us back to the home page. And again, if we looked at the routes, we would see that there is an as part to that for home, and so we do home path. And yeah, I think I'll just leave it at that. So I'll save that, and then again, only modified views here, so should just be able to reload the page and have it pop up. So there's the home page. We can go to the About page. There's my page now. I can go there. Here it is, and at the bottom, there's a link back to the home page. And I'm back at the home page, and we can go back to About, and so on and so forth. So now we're interlinking between the pages. So that all works. So so that completed that step, and so that's all I really wanted to demo for this this demonstration. And so the last thing to do, of course, is close down. And so first thing we're going to do is commit our changes to our local and GitHub repos. So let me just close all this up. And then I'm going to kill the server with Control-C. And then I'm going to say git add -a, which changes everything, git commit, or stages everything. And I'm going to say added a page for S1. And I'm going to push it to GitHub. And if we look at the GitHub page for this, if we reload it, we'll see added a page for SD5. So all the changes have been now pushed here. And this time, notice I was able to push without being prompted for a password because of that configuration I did earlier. Okay, so we've committed both the local repo with add and commit, and then we pushed to the GitHub repository as well, so the changes are in both places. And so then the last step is just to simply log out of the VM and shut it down. So log out is exit, and VM is shutting the VM is vagrant halt. And that concludes this demonstration. Hope it was helpful.